Okay, so I'm here at the shop today and there's a typhoon coming. So we're closed. But I'm gonna answer some of the most frequently asked questions about the shop. I do have these little kids running around looking at the video though. So a lot of our customers come to the shop and they notice that we have a lot of consigned items. So they eventually ask me if we can sell stuff for them. Yes, the shop will sell stuff for you. Of course, we get a little cut of the thing that you sell. We do not buy stuff though from you. As I've mentioned in previous videos, the capital for this shop is not that big. So we don't have a lot of extra cash to just spend stuff on inventory. But if space allows, we will consign stuff, especially if it's like a gravel bike. If it's a road bike, mountain bike, or a rim brake bike, there has to be some consideration. The shop basically focuses on a bunch of gravel stuff. We will sell mountain bikes, we will sell road bikes, we've sold a couple of TT bikes. But the other categories of bikes, there will be a little bit more consideration just because the shop tends to get a little full. Are there any beginner-friendly bike routes for cyclists here in Cebu? Yes, there are a bunch of beginner-friendly bike routes. In fact, I have a bike ride every Wednesday that tends to be very beginner-friendly. I just encourage people to bring a bike that is off-road capable because a lot of the routes that I personally like to go to tend to have off-road bits, and that makes the route choices a lot easier. Here in Cebu, if you have a honest-to-goodness road bike, like a 25 or a 28mm tire road bike, you can do a lot of the routes, but there's a level of being comfortable with tiny tires on crappy roads. And if you're a new cyclist, you might not be comfortable doing that just yet. So I tend to encourage people to bring off-road bikes for the Wednesday, the Villain Midweek Ride. It's every Wednesday, 5:35 a.m. I post it as an Instagram story or a Facebook story the day before to confirm. And 90% of the time, there is a Wednesday ride. Unless my wife has a trip and I have to bring the kids to school. Another really common question, and admittedly when I started the shop, I had no idea that this was even a service. It's, do we have a bike spa or do we do a bike overhaul? And yes, we do. It usually takes about a day. If my mechanics aren't doing anything, if they're focusing purely on one bike, they can probably get it done in half a day. Also assuming that there's nothing much wrong with the bike. They just have to clean, re-grease everything. But if there's a lot of things wrong with the bike, then it might take a little longer. But generally, it takes about half a day. If customers bring in a bike for a bike overhaul or a bike spa, I just ask them to leave it. You have the option to wait for it. You're gonna be sitting around doing a lot of nothing. Or, just chit-chatting here in the shop, which is fine too. It's always nice to have people hang out in the shop. A lot of my regular ride mates come to the shop and just hang out, so that's fun. So whenever we do a bike spa, the most common thing that is broken in the bike is like a bearing. And there's like 1,000 different, maybe like 100 plus different bearing sizes. So we don't stock different bearings here in the shop because it's just going to be impossible for me to keep track and impossible for me to stock. We're just not that kind of shop. It's kind of annoying, to be honest, because most of the time you don't really know what bearing you need until you take it out. So usually what we do is we take out a bearing. There's usually some sort of model number or something in the bearing itself. It's usually like really hard to see with your eye. Sometimes I'll take a picture and I'll zoom in just so that it's clear. Sometimes there is no bearing number, so we have to physically bring the bearing to the bearing shop and show it to them, and they have to physically match the bearings together. it's a bit of a pain, to be honest. Do we have tubeless sealant? Yes, we do. We usually stock this Black Ox OX1. I have had really good experiences with this, and my customers have had really good experiences as well. Sometimes we do get unique inquiries here. Like, for example, I had my cousin, he bought a bike from here in Cebu, and he just needed somebody to, well, he needed somebody to look at the bike. So we looked at it. And then eventually he purchased it, and he needed somebody to box the bike and ship it to his location. And we were able to do all of that. Another unique question sometimes is there will be an event here in Cebu that somebody visits Cebu for, and he needs to have his bike set up. So we've done that as well. That is one of the nice things of having a shop. As long as it is within opening hours, you can come in and we'll help you out. Especially if it's something like you have an event or something. Which makes me think that we should have more bike events here in Cebu. We need more bike events where people are encouraged to fly in to Cebu and join the event. That would be good. Another bike question that I get fairly often here in the shop is, what size bike am I? And honestly, the easiest way would be to visit the shop, try riding a bike, and we can gauge what size bike you are. Because I don't really like the size charts of most bike manufacturers. I think I saw a video from Bike Fit James where he actually went through the different bike sizing recommendations from major brands, and I believe he disagreed with most of the bike sizing recommendations. So what I like to do is have them come here, we'll actually try a bike. If you are unable to do that, then what I do is I ask them if they already have a bike. And if they know the model and size of that bike, and if they are comfortable with that model and size, and then I compare the stack and reach numbers of the bike that they are comfortable with. Usually, that gets us in the ballpark to what size they should get. I'd rather go through the trouble of figuring out exactly what bike size they need, because you can have a super nice, expensive bike, but if it doesn't fit you right, you're not going to want to ride. And in this shop, that's what we want you to do. We want you to ride your bike. Did you notice the coffee in the video? That was Curve Coffee Collaborator. So here's my pour-over recipe when I make coffee at home. I put the origami dripper on a glass carafe, then put a filter paper on it. Then I wet the filter paper with hot water. Using that hot water, it preheats the container. I like to swirl it. Then I take the hot water out. For this brew, I'm using the Mabini Ubuan from Curve. I already ground the beans. The grind is just a little finer than beach sand. Then for this pour, I'm using 18 grams of coffee, and I will eventually pour 300 grams of water on it. I put the ground coffee on the filter paper. Then I use a chopstick to make a little hole in the middle of the ground coffee. Then I pour the hot water on the coffee. I try to get as much of the coffee saturated as possible. So I poured 60 grams of coffee, then immediately stir the pour over to flatten the coffee bed a little bit. And then I wait 45 seconds. And the one problem with my setup is I don't have a thermometer, so I usually use the water straight off the boil. If it's a Robusta or a dark roasted coffee, I'll pour room temp water on the kettle to cool it a bit. I just count 5 seconds when pouring it in the kettle. Not the most scientific, but it works. Then after 45 seconds, I pour another 60 grams. I wait for the water to filter through a little bit, enough that I can almost see the coffee bed. Then depending on the beans, this is usually around 8 to 15 seconds. Then I pour another 60 grams and repeat the process till I reach 300 grams of water total. Then right after the last pour, I gently stir the coffee again. Your total brew time should be around 3 minutes, more or less. Then you're ready to enjoy your coffee. This video was sponsored by Curve Coffee Collaborators. Check out their website at curve.coffee to learn more. Thanks, Curve, for sponsoring this video. Another question that I get also is that, what kind of bike should I buy? And This is really more of a discussion because I'm not gonna tell you what you should buy because a lot of people are different. My preferences obviously is a gravel bike, but some people don't like a drop bar bike. Some people would rather have a flat bar bike. Some people want to join like crit races. Other people just want to go up hills with their friends. Other people want to have a cafe bike, like a super nice bike they can bring to a cafe and like physically lift up and comment on how nice and how light it is. That's not me, to be honest, but you know, whatever bike gets you going is the bike that gets you going. So this is really more of a discussion. If it's somebody new, I usually ask them, what are they going to be doing with the bike? Is it for commuting? Is it for adventuring? Is it for eventually joining a triathlon? Deciding what kind of bike you want is really a discussion. My first bike was a single speed bike that I used for commuting, and I bought it because it was super cheap and then I could commute with it and it did its job. And then I decided later on that I really enjoyed road riding. I did a bunch of 50, 60 kilometer rides with my single speed bike. I really enjoyed riding on the road and trying to ride fast. And then one day I had a bike ride with a bunch of mountain bikers and I borrowed one of their mountain bikes and we went to some of these inner roads, up some hills, on some dirt trails. And I found that super enjoyable as well. In my mind at the time, you definitely couldn't go through the dirt, the rocks with a road bike. That's when I discovered that gravel bikes existed. So eventually I got myself a gravel bike. So that's how that went for me. In fact, that should be the question. Instead of asking what kind of bike you should buy, you should ask yourself, what kind of rides do you want to do? Is it a lot of road rides? Is it a lot of mixed terrain rides? Is it going to be for a competition? Do you want something fast? Do you want something comfortable? All the answers to those questions will help us inform what kind of bike we can recommend. And then lastly, one of the most common questions we get is, can we build a bike? Now, if you bring in all your parts and everything, that's easy. We can assemble a bike super easy. We do that all the time. There are a few times though where people have asked us to build them a bike from scratch. And this is where it gets exciting. Because you gotta balance the bike to the rider. You gotta get that size right. You gotta know what kind of riding they're going to do. And then you have to ask them what their budget is. Because if you had an unlimited budget, then it's a lot easier to get like a super nice bike. But if there's a limited budget and you still want to give a nice bike, this is where it gets interesting for me, honestly. Like it's interesting to find out what parts I can get that are still super nice to ride with and can fit a particular budget. Can we build you a custom bike? Yes, we can. I feel like when we did a few custom bikes before, I didn't do a great job documenting it. Like I've done posts about it. We have stuff on Instagram. I have a bunch of pictures, but I feel like I could do a better job documenting the process. But yeah, so custom builds are fun. And since I ride a lot and my guys ride a lot also, that's Arman and Kenneth, we tend to do a lot of experimentation of products before we suggest it to customers. So generally, you would get a pretty good quality product at a pretty affordable price. All right, that's it. That's a lot of the frequently asked questions here at the shop. If you have more questions, feel free to comment below in the YouTube page or on Instagram or on Facebook. I may not be able to answer all of them because honestly, life gets busy. But I might do it. I don't know. That wasn't very reassuring, was it? All right, more videos soon. Please subscribe.